Okay, if everybody who's sitting far away wants to move closer, that'd be awesome. I have teacher training, so I'm allowed to ask weird things in the beginning. And that's really about today's conversation, because today's interview meeting is a one-on-one interview with Amy, live in the room. And when we're live in the room, the human energy close to us really matters versus feeling like, hello back there. All right. I think that one's slow though, right? It's 2:30? Evie? Yes. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. It's 1:30. It's 2:30. We're done. Have a good night. Bye, everybody. Okay, so happy Wednesday. I want to welcome Michelle Rios, who is live in the room with us here. Every week we do welcome people. It just happens to be that we just left the new agent welcome luncheon, and so it feels a little bit extra special today. So welcome, Michelle. And who wants to start us off with a bucket fill today? Who had something great happen this week, this month? Jasmine.
I got 2 new buyer leads this week.
Jasmine got 2 new buyer leads this week. Way to go. Well done. Do you want to tell us how you got them?
My girlfriend.
Her girlfriend. Use your people. I mean, use them for the help they offer to help other people, right? This is recorded. That's how I meant that. Nice work. Congratulations. We have some, for celebrations, we just got installed this morning. This was requested from the Agent Leadership Council last year at some point. It's directly from Melinda, I believe was the starting point of the conversation. Melinda, if you're watching, this one's for you. And I don't remember if any other ALC members remember the rest of the conversation, but there was a story of an amazing coffee pot we used to have years ago and how fabulous it was. And so I pushed back and said, we're not, doing that because that's ridiculous. And then I learned that it's actually a live espresso bean, super delicious, true coffee maker, and not some sort of packet crap. So in the kitchen right now, delivered this morning, is the live new espresso magic coffee maker. And the leadership team decided to go forward with that, you guys, because when we looked at our numbers last year, we ended up closing more company dollar last year than the year before. And when so many things are down and so many things in the market are like not improving, not like Amy, you'll hear today about her amazing business, but we wanted to make sure we took the time to celebrate, reward us, and we're getting more in-person time with things. And so when you're coming in, whether yourself, meeting with your clients, whatever, you have even a more delicious option than the Keurig already was. Okay, so yay, celebrate the coffee pot. I mean, I'm gonna drink my coffee in a second. It's right there. How'd you know? It's there. I still can't see when I toggle between, so I have to do the awkward moment of like, hold on. Okay, so 75 Thrive is our Thursday series that we've tapped into. This week, tomorrow, is our very own Bridget Potter. I'm like, what's everybody looking at? It's Bridget. So she's doing this nationally for any of the market centers that participated. It's not for everyone, right? If you're not interested in working a niche market specifically, then it's not for you. But if you've been interested in working the divorce market in any way, or you have questions about that, attend Bridget's session. It's tomorrow. Evie, did we decide with her if we're doing that in the room and Zoom after, or all Zoom?
Yeah, I can connect her on Zoom. I'll just blast the link to everybody so they can jump on that. It'll be the same link as we use for TV, but I'll send out the link to everybody.
Yeah, so if you are looking for that in Otherland or in here, look to the Facebook page. The link will be there. And she'll be doing that whole conversation on how she built her divorce niche business. I know one of you in the room has asked me specifically about it. So come learn from her. Y'all, she's in Gary's top 200 for top agents. She teaches lawyers CE credits now. I believe. Like, she's built this whole amazing thing out of something that started as a transaction. So if that's of interest to you, please attend. If it's not, please don't. It's not a best use of your time. And the other part about that is also tomorrow. Ashley, did you want to say anything about Sonia's concert?
Just that tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, in this room, a friend of mine who's become a friend because I followed her for years. I followed her music. She's a singer-songwriter. She is gifting me for my last birthday a small performance for anybody who wants to come tomorrow night. She also wrote 3 songs for the Discover Your Destiny program that I teach, and she's just an amazing human.
Yep, so that's tomorrow evening. If you're interested in attending, there will be some snacks, some fun, some song. And Mondays with Mark started this past week. It was well attended, and I want to just double down on if you have any questions on compliance and what you're doing with contracts and addendums and all the things. He's there in that open forum. What I said last week was treat it like professor office hours. Just go attend and ask your questions. If you don't have questions, he will have topics as well. But what a great opportunity on a weekly basis to be able to go in and ask live on Zoom with him. Why this? What about that? How do I do this? Smile. That's Mondays with Mark. And next week's team meeting, I was able to get a good friend of mine. She's an agent from the East Coast. She'll be doing it by Zoom. She's not flying in. She teaches a course called, I'm going to mess it up, but it's like Build Your Business Without Cold Calling. And she's built an amazing business through local resources, through agent-to-agent referral. She travels a ton, and she's only building more and more business through what she does. So that'll be next week's team meeting on Zoom. We'll be hearing live from Carly and how she's built her business the way she has. And she's not selling you anything. She's just teaching and sharing. So if you want to learn more about social connecting, agent-to-agent referral in that part of the business, that's going to be for you. And last but not least, but wait, there's more. Family Reunion, our convention is coming up rapidly. It is the end of next month, and it's almost next month already. So if you haven't gotten a ticket and you're thinking, maybe I would like to go, or I've always wanted to see Tony Robbins or Mel Robbins or Gary Keller in person, talk on stage. For me, the big room is my favorite part, hands down. For other people, it's the breakout rooms and different things. Your brain will learn so many things watching Gary Keller and Jay Papasan walk through the statistics on a global economy, real estate basis. It's kind of like taking what Ashley does in market stats and exploding it into a whole year of data in the world. So the other part I say about Gary and his conversation is he's the only one that is personally on the hook for whatever happens in the lawsuits that are coming up with all the things that have happened. So he's directly invested in helping our humans live their best life in real estate. So for me, that's a big win on why you want to be there. But you will network, you will build agent-to-agent connections. It's right in Vegas. It only gets closer when it's in Anaheim, and that was last year. So
And it sucks in Anaheim.
and Ashley thinks it sucks in Anaheim. Apparently, I've never been to it in Vegas.
It's awful.
It's the best place for convention.
So the common, what we've heard is that you're not going to have the problem of the hotels are sold out, the food is sold out, there's only one way in and out because it's Vegas, so it's big and there's lots of stuff. So you could still go and get a hotel. You're not going to get the convention center hotel most likely, but you can go and be there. You can drive, and there's Facebook groups. There's ways to like share rooms and buy tickets from people and all sorts of stuff. I will say, if you're doing any of those things, please ask questions and make sure there's been a lot of scams going on. So just like anything with the internet, the mom and me will say, don't go like message somebody on WhatsApp and send them money and think you're getting something in return. And they've gotten really clever where like they go actually find a profile and they're like, my name's Sarah Cirillo and I'm with Keller Williams and I'm selling my ticket. Do you want to buy it? And it's not me and it's not them. So, but ask me, I can double check with their leadership in the office if you are doing that and make sure the person you're talking to is their actual real life person. And if you do that, you can get good deals on the tickets as well. So that's a lot to say. There's over 30 of us going. Come, it'll be fun. We'll do great things together. We might never see you the whole time, but it'll be great. And I think that's it. Evie, did I miss anything?
I lost my slides.
Eddie, you want to come up and do a movement conversation while she double checks my readers and my agenda?
I'm doing the same thing nowadays. How's it going? What's up, internet people? All right, so who here has heard of the California Dream for All program? Guess what? It's bad. So, but this time it's got a couple of twists. So last year they put out $350 million as a way to give, kind of gift money, but not really. It's a second loan on the home. It's not, you not have to repay it until you sell the home or refinance it or transfer title. Okay. However, up to 20% in down payment assistance per person. Last year was first come, first served. This year they made a little tweak. You have to register on the website. The website is CalHFA, which stands for CalHFA, dreamforall.com. So you would go on there, and the site is open. I've heard people say online that it's not, but it is. You would register, and you get entered into a lottery. And they're going to pull people's names out of the lottery system, and you can get up to 20% down payment in assistance, which is pretty awesome. And yes, Vinny?
You want to tell them how long he was around for last year?
8 days. So, yeah, exactly. We don't have an exact date when they're going to pull names, what have you, but they're saying sometime in March and April, which, as we all know, if it's going to be March and April, and you have buyers that are thinking about qualifying for this program, I'll talk about that in a second, you're going to want to get them on the ball now, like maybe yesterday. Get them pre-approved. They have to go through a lender. CalHFA is not a lender. We're a lender for CalHFA. CalHFA is just a state agency that gives out money. They have other programs besides the Dream for All. So one of the biggest nuances that they did change this year, besides the fact that there's a lottery system, is the fact that you have to be a first-generation buyer. Yeah, so, which is really kind of strange. So, which means that if your parents owned a home in the past 7 years, you can't be part of this program. I know, right? So, yes, it's very strange.
In California?
Yeah, it's here in California. It's only in California. In the United States.
Yeah.
If you owned a home in the United States.
No, if the parents own a home.
If the parents have, if you or your parents have owned a home in the past 7 years, you're up. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a cap?
20%. There's no cap per se, so I did some math on that. Great question. The caps come into play with debt to income levels. So basically, if you have over a 700 credit score, you can go all the way up to 50% debt to income. You have to have a 680 to qualify. If you're 680 to 700, 45% is your max. So say you're a great candidate for it, right? There's also income limits, right? So there's all these math variables that are going to limit my response, right? So the way that I figured it out, $213,000 is the income limit here in San Diego to qualify for CalHFA, period. All their other programs. If you make $180,000, which is $15,000 a month, you will qualify for the most amount of money that you could possibly get, which is a 1.25 purchase, and it will give you $1 million loan. At 6.5%, that is the limit for conventional conforming loan is $1,006,250. So that $1 million mark is 1.25, 20% down. You can get that $250,000. You just need to qualify by making $180,000 a year with no other debts and great credit.
And what if you never sell the home?
Right, so then you would not need to repay that. However, when you die, it transfers titles, that money needs to be repaid. So there's another caveat. I'm sorry, I'm going over my 2 minutes.
When you die.
So you have to repay the 20% that you got, plus you have to repay 20% of the appreciation on the home.
Well, not you.
20%
Of the appreciation on the home, which is capped at $150,000.
It's capped.
It's capped at $150,000. So
Can it be used in combination with the VA loan?
no.
Okay.
This is a standalone first. They do the first loan, and then the second loan is that 20% down payment assistance.
Could you ever pay it off if you wanted to? The second month,
Yes,
get it off
great
title?
question. You're allowed to. Last time you weren't allowed to refinance the loan at all. You're allowed to refinance the first mortgage once. Today's rate 6.5%.
way better than 8.
It's way better than 8. We were in the 8s for a while.
And when you
So
refi that first mortgage, can you combine the two? Like what they lent you and
you can always take out that other loan whenever you want, but it kind of defeats the purpose of getting that money. It's
Right.
free money. Might as well let it ride until you have to.
then you have to pay the appreciation. So you could essentially pay it off.
If you could, yes. If you're in that financial position, then amen. God bless you. Why'd you take 20% to begin with?
That's been a good purchase.
You know, so no, absolutely. So those lucky folks that are going to be able to get this money, you know, they'll get their foot in the door and be able to own a home. But
So if nothing else, it's a talking point to go talk to your people about their other opportunities, and don't stop them and be the stopgap that holds them back from getting to the conversation. If they are financing and they are cash, get them to Eddie and one of our lenders immediately to have the conversation and see which program would actually be best for them, because it's not the only program that exists.
just that.
How much did they
Just
fund
Eddie.
it?
Mhm.
How much did they fund it with?
$220 million or so.
What was the last time?
350 last time. So that went in 8 days. So
It's just a lottery this time.
yeah, this time it's a lottery, so it should be a little bit more fair.
Well, everyone has a chance,
Yeah, everyone's got a chance.
but you can't wait. So if you have people,
So you gotta get it going now, because once they, you know, if they're not approved within the next, you know, couple of weeks, I'd say, then the chances of them getting it is gonna be tough.
So I don't know if this is a silly
Yes.
question or not, so if you've got a VA, if I've got a VA buyer, okay,
Mhm.
would you also recommend that they try to qualify for this or no? Okay.
It would help with monthly payments.
oh, you mean instead? You just
Instead
said no.
of, it would help with monthly payments, because it obviously is 20% less of a loan.
Right.
So your loan, yeah, it'll help, but again, you're giving up 20% appreciation where you don't need to as a VA. So it really is gonna depend on that person. Great question.
Any chance you can make a video with the fees of that?
Yeah, I am absolutely going to make a video, and I'm going to do my best to keep it under 60 seconds, because obviously you can tell there's a lot of like caveats to it. So, but
Which is why it's just get the conversation.
yes, just get the conversation going. But I want to provide you guys with all the
Thank you,
information.
that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thank you guys for the time.
Anything else?
I'm going to be starting my Movement Mondays, but I told we'll see you guys again in 2 weeks. So
Movement Mondays are back in 2 weeks.
yes, we'll be teaching you guys all.
2 weeks.
Cool. Thank you guys.
On Zoom, yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Escrow Partners, Jacqueline, come on down. You're the next contestant on Wednesdays with us.
I'll speak fast. Escrow Partners is across the hall. If you have a listing coming up, if you have a listing, call me, email me, get in touch with me. There's a lot of things we can do within our marketing concierge program. It could be helping you set up your website. It could be getting marketing pieces for your listing. There's a lot that we can do. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to have that one-on-one conversation.
Oh, we're quick.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm happy with the marketing concierge setup. Yes.
Yes, it's really Jacqueline's, director of agent growth and all the things, and we realized we could be better at communicating all the things with you guys and help you understand in that concierge level when you have listings what's actually open to you. So yeah, reach out and ask the questions. And I will be playing the role of Alicia, and Robert today is me. So for our coaching spotlight, and we have Erica in the room. Congratulations, Erica. When did you join us officially?
Right before the holiday, right before Christmas.
Right before Christmas. So maybe a month ago, with Christmas and New Year's in between. And she has her first escrow on new construction in the works. And she is about to take her first listing. So congratulations, Erica. I was just learning from her at the luncheon upstairs, and I actually said, I'm going to do a class, a meeting or something coming up in the future. And she said, that's okay. Yes, I will. And because both of these pieces of business came to you because of, what did you say? Like, you were cold calling.
Trying to help someone.
She was trying to help, and it was just people in her world, right? One was a Facebook post of someone asking a question that your fiance screenshot and sent you, and the other, what was your new construction buyer?
It was a cousin's friend.
Cousin's friend. It's just talking to people who have real estate needs, and even though she's brand new, she's relying on her coach, and she's answering questions, and she's coming from how can I help? And because of that, I said the thing I want to double down on with her, and we'll go in depth on it, is like she got on the phone and called and was like, hey, I see this, how can I help, right? And that's where you cut through all of the, I sent a text, I sent an email, blah, blah, blah. That we really are so used to really operating in that format. And I say your success in real estate will come so much faster with voice-to-voice, face-to-face conversations. Okay, so congratulations on the escrow that's open and the listing that's coming. And does anyone have any properties to pitch before we get to our main feature? Listings to talk about, anything? We got them all last week, because I think there was like 12 last week. Okay, great. So I did the interview with Sal, I think last month, maybe November, and we went over the top agent conversations. And an ongoing conversation in the Agent Leadership Council is getting to know the ALC members as top leaders and humans and how they built their business and what they do. And they all very graciously were like, we would love to have the conversation, be interviewed, and be volunteers for any questions and answers and what goes on. So Amy is my first person. Come on up, Amy. I think you get the black chair.
I get the black chair?
Yeah.
Are we both gonna sit down?
I'm probably not going to sit down. I don't think I can sit. So Amy, she gave her bio that you guys would have seen, and that's all like the nice, beautiful stuff about her as a human, and as a mom, and as a wife, and as someone who's been in real estate for 35 years, I think we just realized. And I went to the numbers, which is funny, because if you knew me before I came here, I'm like the squishy person in the world on East Coast life, but apparently West Coast life, I'm the driver numbers person. And when I looked at our Agent Leadership Council's numbers for the year, I said, Amy, your listings taken year over year went up 85% last year. Your contracts closed went up 50% year over year. And your GCI went up 60% year over year. So will you be my first Agent Leadership Council person to have a conversation? Because in a year where so much of the conversation has been negative, like let's just cut to the chase. I'm not looking at you, Ashley. So many where people are actually thriving and doing more, and I think that's what really matters. So I have questions prepared because, look at
You get the purple.
Of course I do.
Nice.
Is it on?
It's on. You're on. So, and Amy did say there's time at the end for questions if you guys have them. So please, hold on and think of them. But I'll go through mine first. And I want to start off and just say, like, if you put humility in your pocket, looking at 2023, what was your greatest achievement of the year?
I think my greatest achievement was on a personal level where I let it go. Going into 23, I was pissed. I was pissed about all the shoulds and must-haves and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. I was overwhelmed. I remember sitting in a mastermind with you going, I'm done. Like, I can't handle all the schedule and the needs and the classes and I just let it go. I let it go. And not to say that I let go of my purpose and my desire and my plans and my schedule, but I let go of the need and the urgency of all the shoulds.
I believe what you said was you were shooting all over yourself.
Yeah, seriously. And I was pissed. And there were about 7 other people in that same mastermind that went, thank you, me too. So, but that was good for me. That definitely led me into just letting it go and just I don't want to say coasting because I didn't coast, but I took off that pressure.
You took off the pressure of yourself, and then what ended up happening was you went up in every measurable factor of your business.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So if you had to get a listing today, your business depended on it, you wouldn't make money and survive if you didn't get a listing today, what would you do?
I would look at the leads in my database and just scroll through the entire list and call every single one of them until I got a contract signed.
If you were going to open your database and do that now, how many leads do you think you would have in there to call from?
120.
I didn't have that on my questions, and I didn't know if she would know that number or not. I was just curious to see what would happen next.
I have 756 people in my database. Those are past clients, people that I know socially, realtor networks, pretty much it. Service providers, like contractors and painters and all that. And I identify a lead by anybody that says that they will transact in the next 5 years. I mark them as a lead in my database.
How did you come up with 5 years?
That's about as far out as the conversation goes, I would say.
And what if someone told you, I will transact, we're going to buy or sell in the next 5 years? Do they ever do that sooner?
Yeah. I remember when I first got in the business, when you talked, I used to call FSBOs and expireds for those of you that are doing that. And they'd say, oh yeah, we're going to list again in 6 months. And we were always taught they're going to list in 3 months or less. So don't wait 3 months to call them, continue to call them now. So yes, people definitely will transact prior to that time period, they say.
And since you said it for FSBOs and expireds when you started, before you knew that you had 750 exact number in your database and how many leads you have exactly, so if anyone feels that and they go, oh my gosh, I don't have 120 people to call, what would you do to get a listing today?
I would schedule an open house and I would door knock around the open house. I would tell everybody, whether it's my listing or not, and I had a conversation, I think was it with Erica, schedule open houses with other agents in the office or even other brokers. It doesn't have to be within our own brokerage if there are no open houses to hold from here. And I've done this before on other people's listings. I knock 20 doors on either side and 30 or 40 across the street because you just might pick up somebody that goes, oh, I'm thinking of selling too, and that's the purpose. So definitely I would door knock around a listing or an open house.
All of those little pieces matter so much, and I just want to make sure we hear both sides, because for some people they're like, great, that's awesome, but what'd you do before you had that? Thank you. Okay, so we kind of touched on it. What would you say if there are any changes you're making in your business based on the market and yours and Gary's experience?
Yes, for sure. So when we were going into last year, the conversation was already starting about the market shifting, even before I think the interest rates had already gone up by then. I don't remember. But we sat down as coaching and looked at where my numbers came from, and we realized even then, over a year ago, that we need to double up on our activities, double up on our numbers. So I'm a huge proponent of working my database, obviously, with 750 people in there. That's all I work outside of open houses on my listings right now. And I have a whole plan. You'll hear things like the 36 touch or the 52 touch for those of you that are new. It's part of the training that you're going to learn about how to work your database. But knowing that I was reaching out to my database 35 to 40 times a year between emails, phone calls, and textings, I knew that wasn't going to be enough to sustain the changes in the market. And I literally had to double down on that. So I did more consistency in my conversations. I did shift from just an occasional phone call. Maybe I don't really want to talk to them, so I'm going to text them instead. But I shifted that back to the actual voice-to-voice conversation last year. So I did do that at least 4 times. And I'm happy to break down what my contacts look like, but that's not part of today. That's good.
Well, and the next question actually is, well, and I want to make sure people hear that, because you said, what's funny is in the beginning it was, I got out of I should, and yet you did more by being clear on what you were doing and not swirling around and doing all sorts of other things. So the intentionality around where you spend your time will feed your energy versus deplete it.
Absolutely.
And then you went up from texting and other things to making sure you were doing 4 voice-to-voice calls a year. And then how many events do you do?
I do 2 events a year. I host 2 parties where I do invite everybody in my database. Some agents will say, oh, only invite your top certain numbers. I invite everybody because it's another opportunity to reach out. So we have a home that has a very large deck and backyard. Well, not large, but big enough to host about 50 or 60 people. So we do, in the springtime, we will do a brunch, or this year we did a brunch. Sometimes it's a concert in the park in the summer. Sometimes it's a beach party on a Saturday or Sunday morning. But we'll do some sort of an active social activity. And like I said, we invite everybody in our database, which gives us an opportunity to send them an email invitation on BombBomb with a video. We send an e-bite, so that's their second touch. We text every single person the week prior to, and then we obviously see them. I'm counting how many touches I have in just one event. We see them at the event, If they don't show up, they get a touch, so they're still getting that. I'll send them a text to say, hey, is everything okay? Sorry we missed you. And then they'll get a thank you note for coming. And then sometimes, if I am organized enough and my assistant has time to do it, we will send another email with a recap of the event, just thanking people with photos. So there's 6 touches to my database in about a 2-week period. And so that's one event. The other event that we just started implementing about 3 years ago, I think we've done it 3 times, is I'm very big on pop buys. If you're not familiar with that phrase, it's when you pop by your client's house to drop off a little gift. And I do little birthday gifts, like a little treat bag with cookies and banners and streamers and stuff like that. So that's one pop by, but I do what's called a reverse pop by, where they come to me and they pick up a pie for Thanksgiving. I hosted on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving for about 3 hours. The first year I did it was just when the pandemic was ending, and we had a drive-by event at a local park. Because where I live on a small cul-de-sac, and there would be nowhere for them to really drive through and turn around. So we did it at the park, and I probably had about 50 people come pick up a pie. So again, all those touches. Email, text, see them, thank them. We did host it at my home for the last 2 years, and the first one we did at home was really when everybody was let out of the cage. Everybody was so ready to party and to see each other. I had 102 people show up. So I think out of that, I gave away about 75 pies, because they're couples and families and what have you. And that's a super fun one. It's super easy. All I do is I literally pick up pies at Vons, you guys. I don't go like full on like gourmet bakery. I get the $8 pie at Vons. I get in advance who's going to show up, so I know how many pies to have, and whatever I have left over, I donate to families in need. So super easy stuff, but it's great. I do a couple little appetizers, bottles of water, and they can be in and out in 5 minutes, or they can stay for 3 hours. That's a fun one.
And how many leads did you get from that one this year or last year?
You know what? It's hard to say because I work the database all year long, and we'll definitely have conversations about business. I can't say that any one particular lead comes from any single event, because it's an ongoing conversation with the clients. It's an ongoing nurture of everybody that's on my database. So, I mean, I got a lead on Sunday from somebody that's never shown up to a party, and I've only reached him maybe once a year. He's been a client for 10 years. So who's to say which phone call did it?
And so the important part of that is, well, one thing I remember and you don't, that right afterwards you're like, you got referrals in the room from people voice to voice, like in the location saying, at your house saying like, oh, we have this coming up. And you're like, oh, okay, excellent. The other part of it is the opposite side is people will often say, well, they're not responding. I'm going to delete them, or I'm going to stop inviting them. Please don't ever delete them or stop inviting them unless they cause you physical negative feelings. And because what Amy just said, he's never come, he's only answered the phone like once a year or whatever, and yet he's like, hey, we're ready to go. So don't make up the story of what's happening in their world and your brain. It's not about you. It's about them.
Never give up. Gary and I sold a house in Scripps Ranch to somebody that took my aerobics class at the gym. Like, I met her at the gym like 25 years ago. Oh, you're in real estate, I want to buy a house. So we sold her a house. I called that woman 4 or 5 times a year for 20 years. And she finally returned a phone call to say, I'm moving out of state, can you come list my house? So it took 30 seconds to call and leave her a message, and she ended up selling her house. Back then it was like 800,000 or something. So.
And what did you say when you called her 4 times a year and she didn't pick up?
Hey, whatever, I can't remember her name. Tidy. Hey, Tidy, it's Amy Blume. Gary and I just wanted to check in and see how everything's going. We haven't chatted in a bit. Hope you're good. Give us a call when you get a chance. Bye. So simple.
It's recorded for anyone who's wondering what that conversation is.
And here's the thing. If you feel like you have to have something really profound to say, come to Sarah's Mondays and Wednesdays Power Prospecting, because she has amazing content that I don't know what to say to these people. She provides some of that so that you go, okay, do I want to talk about the market? Do I want to talk about, I don't know what. I don't know. I don't do the things that you say because I'm just calling people. Just hello.
Hello. Gary Keller always said his favorite conversation, because we don't have scripts, is just hello and then listen. Okay, so describe a typical workday for you.
Okay, so my workday starts 9-ish in the morning. I wake up early to work out. I meditate, I journal, I take care of me, and then about 9 o'clock I sit down on my computer and I will check my emails to see if there's anything urgent. I will have a meeting with my assistant. Everything's virtual with him, and so we will meet twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and then around 9:30 I will get on my phone calls. I will pull up my database, and I've been doing the last year or so what is called the DTD2. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's just the way the alphabet is broken out at 2 letters at a time, and you just call those letters that week. And there's a calendar. KW has a calendar. Anybody in the office can share it with you that uses it. So I just pull up the calendar for the DTD2 and I just call them for about 3 hours. If it's, depending on who the client is, some people don't like phone, and I know they will never, ever, ever, ever pick up the phone. So I will text them if I know. Like I had one client say, don't ever call me, just text me. And when I called, they got mad. So, but I will go through that and I'll just run it until my time is up, and around 12:30 I am done with that. I'll have lunch, and then I will do other business for the rest of the day, whether it's appointments or managing an escrow or going out for lunch or whatever it is, whatever shows up.
Did you say you work for 3 hours a day, every day?
And if I don't have anything to do, I don't. It's, yeah. And that the 3 hours is the time that I protect the most. Like 3 hours in the morning. If for some reason something gets in the way, like I need to take my dad to the doctor, or the only time I can get that inspection in the next 7 days is at 10 o'clock, I will go do that. I don't always replace the time later in my day, depending on what it is, but I do my best to do some sort of lead generation. And the way my lead generation looks, let me backtrack before I get to my DTD2 Command. Again, I love Command. I've been using it since they came out. Command has a place where you can create a task. So if I talk to a client and they go, hey, you know what, I think I'm gonna wanna sell my property, can you do a quick CMA? I will create a task. When I talk to them, like right now I'm on the phone with you at my 3 hour period and you want a CMA, I'll immediately create a task and set that aside so that I continue my phone calls. I will check for those tasks again to make sure that I'm not spending that CMA time during my lead gen time. But before I start those DTD2, I will go through all of my tasks for that day to see who needs to get a phone call from me for whatever reason it is, whether it's a buyer that I met at an open house or any lead for whatsoever reason. You know what, they said that their son might want to buy something, they were going to get me his number later. Do I need to call that guy to get the son's number? So I'll go through all my tasks first. And those get done every day, no matter what time I have. I mean, I could be sitting in the doctor's office with my dad, and I'll be pulling up my tasks and doing it there if I need to.
So you will use your 3 hour time block to make any of the phone calls you need to make, and then because it's all lead generation and it's all doing your job.
Yep.
I say that a little bit snarkily, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what's important is when you do your job 90 whatever % of the time, when something gets in the way, you don't have to panic about replacing it because you're doing it at such a high ratio that you're okay if something slips.
Yeah.
And when you've gone on vacation, I know you just say you double down on the letters the following week.
Yeah, so let's say I'm working on A&W is the first one of the year. A&W is the 2 letters that you work on. I do it by first name. They say to do it by last name. I don't think it matters. So when I know I'm going to be out of town the first week of the year, the first week of the quarter, I will take those A's and W's and break them down. Oh, there's 38, so I'm just going to do 2 or 3 a day until I catch up. I'm not going to go, oh my God, I have to do all the whole 2 letters a week or whatever. I'll just do them until they get done. So I don't ever skip. They say you can skip the week, but I want everybody to hear from me, so I don't skip the week. I build it in somewhere along the way.
I think that's important to make sense of how does it work in real life when you're doing it all the weeks of the year, not just, I decided to try to work my job this week, right? Okay, tell us about your, I wrote down like your worst transaction ever, but I would say it's like really like, I don't know, worst transaction or the one that taught you the most and you still kept working.
You know what? I was thinking about this because you sent me the questions in advance.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any worst transactions because honestly, I mean, for those of you that are working with your friends, like how can it be worse? You're working with people that you like and that hopefully like you as well, or you're working with the referrals they sent you. and you get to know these people very intimately. I mean, real estate's probably the biggest financial decision and emotional decision a human being will make in their lives. So I can't say that I've had horrible transactions, but I've had horrible moments. And I think one of the worst situations I was in, back during the Great Recession, I was a listing agent for Fannie Mae. I had a contract with one of their asset managers, and they would just throw the listings at us. There were probably about 4 people in their particular group, and if we didn't sell the property within 30 days, they would move it to a different agent. So listings were thrown around back and forth all over the place. Well, then they started putting quotas on us and saying, okay, you gotta sell 4 a month, you gotta sell 6 a month, you gotta sell. And it was in a market where properties were falling out of escrow like this. And I remember when one particular property fell out of escrow for the 4th time in a row, my first thought was, oh, they're gonna take this listing from me. And it made me take a step back, because my entire career, and I had been in the business for 20 something years by then, my entire career up to that point was, holy what's the seller gonna do? I didn't have that thought. And that's when I realized this isn't where I need to be. I'm not a quotas person, I'm a relationship person. And I did not have a relationship with the foreclosure market. And that was probably my worst experience as a realtor. Not transactional specific, but why was I doing this? And where do I really need to be? And I think that really made a big shift in my attitude towards the business, and how it made me realize how important my clients are to me, because I didn't have that with this particular contract. So that was probably my worst experience. And I literally, at that, when they pulled that listing, I stopped doing them. And it was a tough market. I was doing 40 transactions a year back then. They were feeding me probably 90% of my business. I had to pull out. I couldn't do it.
So you took that moment where you were running a large business at the time, especially in the downturn of what was going on, and you were willing to put your energy ahead of the transaction because it was depleting you versus feeding you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's really important, and Amy and I didn't actually go over the questions together beforehand, but what I want you guys to make sure you're hearing from that is people talk about how exhausting this career can be, and then other people talk about how fulfilling this career can be. And everyone's right in whatever you experience. So being mindful of how you feel in a specific way of work or a client you're working with, let that guide you in your future choices, just like Amy did, and say, I'm gonna walk away from more business because I can't build my career this way. I won't sustain, and you'll burn out. And if you're burned out, you can't help anyone. You really can't help yourself. I love that. I learned something new from you. Okay, so tell us, based on everything that you know and what you're experiencing now, what keeps you up at night?
Nothing. Honestly, I sleep like a baby. No, really, I used to get really stressed out about how am I going to pay the next bill, where's the next transaction going to come from, and I think it's easy for me to say nothing now because I do have active business, and so I'm not stressed about that. But even when business is not good for me, I still just go, whew. I had a great conversation this morning with another agent in the office, and we were talking, and 2 agents actually this past week, and we were talking about the stress of having debt and the stress of our business being down. And can I share about what I went through 2, 3, 4 years, whenever this was? Okay, I shared this at the Discover Your Destiny. So for those of you that don't know me, which is probably 90% of the room, and for those that have heard this story, my apologies for telling it again. In late 2019, 2020, right before the pandemic, I was almost $100,000 in debt. I was still producing, but we just had gotten into a really bad financial place, my husband and I, and when the pandemic locked down real estate and none of us knew if we were going to be able to sell a house until it was over, I had 4 escrows, and I was like, oh, thank God. This is right before the pandemic. I was just so grateful that I was going to be able to get my head above the water. Well, pandemic. Real estate shut down for about, less than a week, 6 days, but we didn't know when we were going to be able to sell. I lost one of those transactions, fell out, the buyer couldn't perform. But at that moment, I just went, it's okay, because I'm not the only one. It's okay. What I had to do in the meantime, because I had literally no money, all the debt, I was borrowing money from my kid, who was 23 years old at the time, my son. I had to borrow $300 from him to buy groceries. That's where I was. I didn't have a dollar in the bank. Talk about humility. For you to have to go to your own son and go, hey, dude, I don't have any money, and I know you just drove down from Oregon to live with us during the pandemic. Can I have money for groceries? Because I can't feed you. So from that, once real estate opened up again, I just took a deep breath and said, I got to do something. I can't live like this. I can't have my children have to experience this. And I literally just dove into my database even more. When I called them, it was not about real estate, obviously, because nobody was really considering that at the time. And it was just calling them and say, how are you? What do you need? I have toilet paper. Do you need toilet paper? Seriously, I just called, what's going on with work? Are you able to work right now? How are you doing? They were doing, what was it called on the mortgages? Forbearance. Are you going into forbearance? Let's have a conversation about what that's going to look like for you. And all of the conversations I had were truly coming from a place of contribution and care. But going back to my story about this, and long story short, we were able to work ourselves out of the debt. And now here I am. So that's the great story. But what I want to reflect back on is being $100,000 in debt, like I said, when the pandemic shut everything down and I had no idea where my next check was going to come from, that's when I realized that it's just debt. It's just debt. Most of us, I think, have all been there, whether it's $500 or $50,000. We're not going to die because we have debt, you guys. We're going to be able to get out of it at some point. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be in 5 years, but it's not going to kill us. And I think that's a thing that we get so uptight about. How much money do I have and what are people going to think? I was renting. I'm a realtor. I was renting. I sold my home many years ago because of financial, personal, outside things with my husband's family. And I was embarrassed. I'm a realtor and I'm a renter. Well, nobody cares. Nobody cares. We put so much pressure on ourselves to look a certain way for other people. Nobody knows that you're in debt. Nobody knows that you rent your home instead of buying a home. We need to get over that and just go, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it is. I was able to get myself out of that. I worked really hard to do it, absolutely. This job is not going to be easy where you just sit back and wait for people to call you. Go to work. It's that simple, and I did. And you know what? The debt went away, and I was able to pay it off, and...
Well, let's dive into that for a second, because...
and...
So from borrowing money from your son...
Yes.
To paying the debt off, to buying a house, right? What was
And...
that period of time?
Well, a year and a half.
And...
A year and a half.
I think it's important to actually, because you shared so much, thank you, to say, what did you end up, you paid off your debt and you saved how much for down payment?
$180,000.
And now that's the house that you host
And that's
your
the
parties
house
in.
that I host my parties in.
Because she worked 15 hours a week.
Because I work 15 hours a
On her
week.
database, sorry.
I was like,
More than
what?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000%.
I mean, the work is more, because obviously when you have transactions, you're doing your transactions. But yeah, like to me, the work is calling my database, making those cold calls. And like I said, expireds, FSBOs, open houses, database, door knocking, divorce, whatever. I mean, find your niche and work it. It's so simple.
Do you think there was something in that where you made a decision that something had to be different mentally or work-wise or anything?
When I had to go to my son to ask him for the money, that's what did it.
So, and that's when I met you, was right around that time, because I've been here just past 3 years. And you're the same human, because what I love about Amy, which we'll probably get to at the end, is your mom's influence on you. And what's your favorite quote?
My mom attended a Dale Carnegie class. Do you guys know who Dale Carnegie is?
Yeah.
He's a writer, motivational speaker.
Like the OG.
From the 70s or the 60s. So think Tony Robbins or who's big? Mel Robbins, Zig Ziglar. So Dale Carnegie had these courses, and my mom attended the course. I was probably 12. And she comes up and she goes, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this is so awesome. If you act enthusiastic, you'll be enthusiastic. And that has stuck with me ever since. And I say it now. I've been saying it my whole life. And whenever I start to say, if you act, my kids go, oh my God, there she goes again. Like, that's how much I say it. But it's true.
It is true.
It's true. It's true for me. It's
Your
seriously
energy
true for
drives
me.
your world. And there's something I learned recently that matters to what you just shared. Life will happen, right? And I love that when I said what keeps you up at night, you said nothing. And that's an intentional choice. That's not just how you were necessarily born or anything else. You decided when you had to go to your son and ask for help. And what one of my mentors told me this year was decide is actually a prefix and a suffix, or however we want to say that. It's been a while since I took Latin. Side means to kill, pesticide, homicide, anything with side. The prefix D means to eliminate. So it means off, it means separate. And to kill off the option of anything else existing in the future is to decide. And I don't want to simplify that. And I think Amy's story is powerful enough that it's not simplifying it, because you're talking about going from, I need to borrow money for groceries, we're in a ton of debt, to paying it off and buying a home. And then her next hurdle became, well, now I don't know what I'm working for.
Yes, 2022 was a challenge because I didn't know. I bought my house in 21. And it's funny because when I was with our previous team leader that I was coaching with, I kept saying, with all the debt, with everything, I said, I'm going to buy a house at the end of 21. And I said it again and again and again and again. Like when you talk about affirmations, and I'm like, how the hell am I going to do that? I have $100,000 in debt with no money, but I'm going to buy a house at the end of 21. And I did. I bought it in October. And so, yes, I decided. But after I bought the house, I took Ashley's Destiny class, Discover Your Destiny, going, I was there because I did not know what was next. I was scared that I didn't have anything driving me financially to keep me working. And yes, my business did go down a bit that next year in 2022. My business dropped a little bit, not significantly, I don't think. I mean, I was fine financially, so I obviously wasn't significant. But I didn't know, like, why am I doing this? What's my drive? And it's just to enjoy my family and I don't know.
Well, I think the mindset matters, because your answer, like people could hear the answer of nothing keeps me up at night and think you're some evolved, untouchable, like Buddha type human, right? And not that you're not.
I'm striving to be. That's one of my goals this year, is to just tap into my spirituality. But yes, that is one of my focals for the last 2 years, is how can I become more enlightened, spiritual. I love to meditate, all that stuff, like all of the learning and the growth and the everything, like mindset, it all just combines together.
It does. And even for someone who's been doing it forever, your question was, what am I working for? And what was interesting for me to see on the coaching relationship was, as evolved as your mindset can be, if you feel like a struggle in the what am I working for, there will be a struggle in your consistency. Even though you're consistently doing your job, the results will show up differently. And that gets into a whole, I don't know, there's a science brain part, and Diana Kokoska's not here to teach it, so we'll have to read the book instead. But what Amy got to was, since the big why, we talk about that so much, and it was the house, buy a house and pay off debt. And so if anyone's feeling like, oh, I get that one, if you're already in a place where you've got your big thing covered, the next thing was Amy was searching for, what's the next big thing? And we talked, is it an investment property? Is it paying off your mortgage? Like, we're throwing things out there. And when she got to, it's just to be able to enjoy life and spend time how she chooses. And I say just, because that's not a just at all. And yet, for some people, they're trying to define an object. Mm-hmm. And that was a real evolution for you.
Yeah, that was. And you know what, and we do vision boards. If you guys are familiar with vision boards, I've been doing, we used to call them treasure maps back in the 80s. My mom introduced me to treasure maps, and I love that. Like, you put pictures of things you want for the year, and mine are never like things. Like, I see people putting shoes because they're really into shoes, whatever. Mine's all about experiences. Mine's, I've got 2 adult children, and thank God they love each other as much as we love them. They're just super close. They're 23 and 26, and like, I love my little family. Like, we're just a super close family. We love experiences. We'll travel together. We'll go hiking together. We'll go backpacking. And so for me, it's all about those experiences. And if I can fund those experiences for my family, that's what drives me. Like, my kids drive me. Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so what is working best for you?
So many things. So many things. Definitely my mindset and keeping on top of it, looking for the joy in my everyday, protecting my schedule.
I want to go to your mindset for a minute.
Okay.
Is there a tool, because people hear that and they throw it around, and if you work on it, you have an idea. If you're like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, is there something you do specifically for your mindset that you could share?
I think so. I mean, honestly, I've been doing it for so long that I don't know what I consciously do, but I do know that, like I said, every morning my day starts with working out and meditation and all this. So I wake up about 5 or 5:30. The first thing I do is I meditate. And I do it a couple of different ways. I follow Deepak Chopra, so I'll maybe do his meditations, or I have a couple of apps on my phone. Maybe I'll follow one of their guided. I'm better with guided meditations. It's more comfortable for me. Sometimes if I don't have a lot of time and I don't have 15 minutes and I just want to do 2 or 3 minutes of silence, I'll do that. But I always start my morning with meditation. And then after my meditation, I journal. I'll either journal the questions from Discover Your Destiny or any course that I'm taking. I just completed the NLP class in November, so I'm going through their 30-day program. They give you a couple months to do it. So there's a lot of journaling prompts on that one, or even a journaling prompt from an app. So I'll journal, I'll write down affirmations and my goals and what I'm grateful for, and all of that goes into my journal. I'll spend maybe about a half an hour, 45 minutes on it, and then I'll work out. So it's just part of my day. So I think the journaling and the journaling prompts and the meditation, I think that really helps to feed my mindset. One of the things that I journal every morning is what brought me joy in the last 24 hours. So it's reminding me of the things that I was looking for in my day, because joy is absolutely part of it. I don't care if it's listening to the rain. And that was my meditation a few days ago on Monday. I went to go sit down to meditate, and it was pouring. It was, 5:30, something in the morning, and I could hear it on the roof. And I'm like, oh my God, it's the rain. And I literally opened up the sliding door in my master bedroom and just sat at the door and just watched the rain for 15 minutes. Just me and the rain. Gary was downstairs in the canyon doing something with the rain, I don't know. We have a little canyon, and my husband's in there all the time. So I think that's it. I think it's just having created that habit every morning of doing those personal mindset, personal growth, as I call it. I also read or listen to audiobooks a lot. If I'm doing long drives, like from here to Oceanside or Campo, where my new buyer is, I'll be on the road for an hour for that type of thing. I'll listen to books. But
no, I do
yeah.
the same thing, but when
yeah.
you said
Campo, yeah. So I'll listen to books, and I don't listen to, I don't read novels and stuff. I mean, I like them, but I'd rather spend my time doing other things that are better for me.
It's your choice, yeah. What's next for you?
Besides going to India in October with my family.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So I have a couple of big goals. We have owned investment properties over the years. We bought and sold a few. I can't say that I'm a huge investor, but besides the family travel, is buying an investment property this year. Yeah, so my goal is to start accumulating property that will produce some passive income, because I do not want to sell real estate for the rest of my life. I love the job, I love this business, I love the people I meet, but I also know that I would rather be traveling and eventually retire so that my investment properties can pay my bills.
Here or London?
You know what? Honestly, I'm not thinking I'm going to buy in San Diego or even California. I'm not concerned about appreciation. My house will be the appreciation for my kids when they inherit it. So I'm looking for something that's going to bring me some positive cash flow. So I'm looking out of state. Yeah, and we've talked about that. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm working on. I mean, I don't need to spend $800,000 on a condo and maybe make half my mortgage payment for it. I want to buy something for $200,000 out of state. Not necessarily that I have to pay cash, but that's going to have some positive cash flow that I can eventually pay off. And I don't care what it's worth when I die. That's my kid's problem. They can sell it or keep it or move into it or do whatever they want.
Amen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, if you could give one piece of advice to any agent at any level who's looking to level up, what would it be?
Just one?
Just one. Start with one. You can go on if you want.
Oh my gosh. There's so many. Just one.
What serves you at the highest level in the work that you do that gives you the freedom that you've earned over time?
Can I give two?
Sure.
Mindset. Seriously, what you focus on is absolutely going to drive your day. I think that's probably more than anything. More than the activities or protecting your calendar or whatever it is. Because if you have a bad attitude and if you're grumpy and if you say I can't or they don't like me or they don't want to, you're right. You are absolutely right. And I know you've heard the phrase, what you focus on expands. If you haven't heard it, what you focus on expands is absolutely true. If you worry about your debt, you're going to get more in debt. If you worry about the phone calls you're afraid to make, you're going to be afraid to make the phone calls. But if you think, oh, wow, maybe they want to hear from me. Oh, I've got some great news for somebody. Oh, things are going to get better. What you focus on expands. And if you act enthusiastic, you'll be enthusiastic.
You will be enthusiastic. Last question is, what didn't I ask you that I should have?
What did she ask me? What didn't she ask me that she should have? I don't know. I think you covered so much.
Is there anything that you guys have and percolating in your brains you want to ask Amy?
Chris? Not necessarily ask, but you said something that I think I would hope resonates with everybody in this room, and that is there's this expectation that you have to have a certain look or a certain blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of gurus out there who say, if you don't get up at 3:30 in the morning and blah, 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 and all the BS, or you don't drive a Porsche, or you don't do this, or you don't do that, it's all bullshit. And Amy was 100% right when she said that, because I'll tell you, she and I have talked. I mean, yeah, and Amy actually texted me one time and said she was grateful for me because I stopped at her at her house one day. She was trying to buy her a wedding invitation, but
I almost crashed that party. You better be careful who you tell where you're getting married.
But anyway, she's 1,000% right, and they think that anybody new in this business really needs to understand that nobody cares. Nobody cares. And I think that's part of your success is the fact that you're relatable to people. I mean, I suppose you're trying to sell $5, $8, $12 million houses, but I mean, we're the same people.
And this is how I show up to appointments, guys. Yeah. I'm wearing tights and a sweater. Like, I don't put on the whole big fancy schmancy thing. Yeah. Like, yeah, I like to get dressed up once in a while, but be who you are, and you will attract those clients that you resonate with. If you can't be authentic in the way you present yourself to your clients, they're going to find that, and they're going to walk away.
Yeah, and I think that's important. That was probably one of the biggest things that you said, because I don't want people to feel like they have to, you know, like look at Mama earlier. She wore a rock and roll t-shirt.
And you know what? And thank you, Chris, because the image, I mean, who's the image? How do you know what that particular person wants? And we worked with first-time buyers that are buying, you know, $150,000 condos in Campo. And we've worked with multi-million-dollar buyers who have a portfolio beyond anything I could even imagine. And not that they bought multi-million dollars with me, but we've done business together. They buy investment or whatever. So be who you are. Be who you are. Don't change for them, because it'll come to you.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Thank you, Amy. I want everyone to walk away with, if you work 3 hours a day, you can create the life that you want. If you can control your mindset and work on your mindset with simple tools like write down what brought you joy the day before or what you're looking forward to, you can work on your mindset and be yourself. And if something in your business isn't bringing you joy and raising your vibrations, change it, because it's your business and that's your choice. Thank you so much for being here today. See y'all next week for Carly on Zoom.